Hi, I'm Angela Wolf, fashion designer, author, and online instructor. And today I want to talk about altering a pattern into the Batwing, which was very popular in the 20s and actually is very popular now again, especially with the skinny jeans and leggings. This is what it is. I'm going to use this one. Look at this area here. This is a very extreme version of this pattern. Tighter on the waist, but all of that drape. Now notice on here I added cuffs. There's a reason for this, and I'll explain that shortly. And the other thing is, this one does not have a shoulder seam because I wanted the stripes to go from front to back. This one is a little bit different. There's still the curve here, but not quite as much. It does have a shoulder seam, and I've added embroidery as an embellishment. So let me just show you a few things. I have two pieces of fabric here, and the reason that the blue top had cuffs is simply because of this. The pink one stretches this way and this way. So when my top, if it's real tight against my wrist, I can actually get my hand in there because it stretches. Now the blue top stretches this way, but it does not stretch this way. So once I made the pattern adjustment, I added cuffs, and the cuffs went this with the stripe going this way so it could stretch and get on my wrist. So this pattern alteration is so simple. Just grab any t-shirt pattern. This is my ruche tee that I always wear. What I'm wearing right now is exactly the same, except look I made mine even a little bit narrower than the last two. I love this top. It's so comfortable, and you can make it in an afternoon or shorter. So here I have two pattern pieces, my back, my front, and my sleeve. The front and the back will be sewn, and pretty much they're almost exactly the same pattern. So I actually only make one, the back, and then I change the neckline for the front. So here's my sleeve. I fold it in half. Now for the blue top, I told you that it did not have a seam up here. So this one actually will be drawn just along here, and then we'll make the curve in a minute, but I want to show you the shoulder first. So this is for the blue top, and the reason this is the case is this pattern, the front and the back are all one piece, cut on the fold, but you can see how that's a nice straight line here. Now how did I pick where this straight line was? All I'm doing is lining up the shoulder to be perpendicular to the grain line. Very simple. I eyeballed it, but it's close. All right, now for the orange top, or the peach top, that sleeve was a little bit more angled. And that's similar to the blue one I'm wearing now. So I'm just gonna lay my sleeve on here. Now, I did not cut a piece of paper as long as my actual sleeve because you wouldn't be able to see it on camera. But go all the way down, and if you want some scrunches down here on your wrist line, then make your sleeve even longer. So measure from your shoulder to your wrist and add however much you want to have scrunched. There's your shoulder pattern. Now, if you don't have a French curve, it's okay because you can actually do this just by free hand. What I usually do is make it tight through this area. This is what, on my shirt right here, see all these wrinkles? I actually extend the length on my pattern. So down here, this would actually be drawn a little bit lower. All of this is going to be tight. And here is my sleeve. You're going to measure around your wrist for however tight you want this, and that's what this measurement right here will be. And then this is it. I'm going to freehand this so you can kind of just watch what's going on. You can use the curve if you want to be perfect, but that's it. That's how simple this is. Now the blue one, which had a lot more curve, this one actually went a little bit more out like that to meet with the sleeve. That is how simple this is. This is the pattern. And for the back, this will be the neckline, and for the front, I just lower this just a little bit. But be real cautious because there's a lot of fabric pulling here. If you make this too wide, it's going to go off your shoulders. And then simply you're going to have a band ribbon around the top of your neckline. So this is the pattern. So let's talk about embellishing. For my blue one, all I did was sew it together. So you would sew your shoulder seams, your side seams, hem, and put your neckline in, and you're finished. I told you this was simple. Here is one form of stabilization. These new machines have huge hoops, and quite often you'll find a stabilizer that isn't quite wide enough to fit in the whole thing. it's okay to piece it. So here, if you can see under my hand, these are 2 pieces of stabilizer. This is water soluble, meaning that once you throw it in the washer, it goes away. Or you can just spray it with a water bottle. I put a piece of tape there usually just to hold it together. The needle will go right through it. So that's one idea. Another one is a sticky back water soluble, which is what I'm using in the hoop, which I'll show you. Has paper on one side and your fabric will stick right to it. Again, you throw it in the washing machine and it's gone. So let's go to the machine. And I just want to point out here, this is the embroidery. I did it in a different color here so you could see it, but this is one design. I've already done one because I want to show you how to match up designs. All the way from the shoulder to here. I'm doing it right on that outside arm seam. So let me show you. This is so simple. And it doesn't matter what size hoop. If you have a smaller hoop, maybe you'll have more hoopings in here. But I'm going to pick a design. Let's pick some flowers. Here's the design I want to use. Now make sure that you pay attention to the design. Maybe you want the rose to be turned someplace else. You just want to make sure it looks good on the whole sleeve. So I'm going to choose this design. And it shows my design here. I've already scanned in my fabric, but I'm going to do it one more time. And while that's scanning in, I just want to point out, this here is sticky back water soluble paper. So I don't have to spray it. I can just, this is sticky, I laid my fabric on here. I ran a chalk mark right through here, so when it shows up on the screen, I can align this design. Now what I want to be careful of is that my embroidery design does not go too low, and it doesn't go into the other design. So right here, you can see me moving this around. You can see my chalk mark. I'm going to center this. I can also see it's not going to go past the hem. Uh-oh, this is touching that embroidery design. So I'm going to just rotate it. There. Now my rose, the rose is very hard to see, but it's right here. You can see the greenery. If I lower that just a little bit, move it around, I can still center it. I'm going to flip this just like this. You have so many different options. I could duplicate it if I wanted to do one on each side, like that. But anyways, pick your design, move it around, and then I'm going to start this because I want to show you, you do have to be careful of something. Okay, that looks pretty good. I'm not going to embroider on top of anything. There's my design, and I just am going to hit this laser light. That shows me where it's going to start stitching. Now I have a seam underneath of here. This is serged, just a simple serge seam. The needle does go through that, but look at how this fabric is just stuck to this right here. I don't have it stretched or anything like that. I want to start embroidering, and I want to show you what I'm being very careful of. As it starts to embroider, I have all this fabric hanging over the edge. Now what I've done is I've sewn the shoulder seam. I'm going to stop it for a second. I've sewn the shoulder seam, and I left the sides open. So I've laid the fabric on here. Now it's embroidering, but as it goes over each part, this fabric can start to move around. So I'm going to just do a little bit more, and you'll see what's going on here. It goes over that seam, and if you notice, this design is kind of a wider, it's not real condensed, but as it moves around and it's going to skip and go to the next section, I have to make sure that when that moves, all of this fabric on the side doesn't get scrunched up. Now it's going down the other seam. And if any of this starts to bubble, I have to stop, lift it up, and move it around. So I'm basically the whole time watching the fabric. Now don't use your hands and get real close. You can use a stylus, you can use a seam ripper just to hold it. Now this is staying down pretty well. And it's going right through the seam. It doesn't look like anything's puckering here. I'll let it stitch a few stitches, and then I'm just going to stop it and show you what I'm referring to. Okay. That's pretty good. We're going to stop it right there, and I'm just going to lift this up and bring it back to the table so you can see what I'm talking about. It's kind of hard to see in that little compact area. So here is my design. This was the first one that was finished. This has not gone through the wash yet. Here I have the water stabilizer. it just tears off, just like this. What I usually do is leave it, throw it in the wash, and it's all gone. But here's the other section that's embroidering. Now, look at these little sections here that are a little puckery. After you wash it, I'll press it once, and it's good to go. So this stabilizer basically just pulls off. This one's a little bit different, a little thicker. Just like this. Throw it in the wash, and then sew the rest of your top together, and you're good to go. That is how easy it is to alter this pattern, add a little embellishment, and seriously, you'll have a top to go in an evening.